Okay, here we go. We are going to be reading pages 61 through 80. So it's basically the last part of August. Okay, so here we go. All right. Page 61. Wake me up when September ends. The rest of the September was hard. I wasn't used to getting up so early in the morning. I wasn't used to this whole notion of homework. Whoever is, right? And I got my first quiz at the end of the month. I never got quizzes when Mom homeschooled me. I also like how I had no free time anymore. Before, I was able to play whenever I wanted to, but now it felt like I always had stuff to do for school. And being at school was awful in the beginning. Every new class I had was like a new chance for kids to not stare at me. They would sneak peeks at me from behind their notebooks, or when they thought I wasn't looking. They would take the longest way around me to avoid bumping into me on anyway. Like I had some sort of germ that they could catch. Like my face was contagious. In the hallways, which were always crowded, my face would always surprise some unsuspecting kid who maybe hadn't heard about me. The kid would make a sound, and then you like hold your breath before you're underwater, like, sound. This happened maybe 4 or 5 times a day, a few weeks. On the stairs, in front of lockers, in the library. 500 kids in the school. Eventually, every one of them I knew was going to see my face at some time. And I knew after the first couple of days that the word had gotten out around about me, because every once in a while I'd catch a kid elbowing his friend that passed me, or talking behind his hands as I walked by them. I can only imagine what they were saying about me. Actually, I prefer not to even imagine it. I'm not saying they were doing anything in a mean way, by the way. Not once did any kid laugh or make noises or do anything like that. They just were being normal dumb kids. I know that. I kinda wanted to tell them that. Like, it's okay, I know I'm weird looking. Take a look, I don't bite. Hey, the truth is, if a Wookiee started going to school all of a sudden, I'd be curious. I'd probably stare a bit, and if I were walking with Jack or Summer, I'd probably whisper to them, "Hey, there's a Wookiee." And if the Wookiee caught me saying that, he'd know I was trying to be mean. I was just pointing out the fact that he was a Wookiee. It took about a week for the kids in my class to get used to my face. There were the kids I'd see every day in my classes. It took about 2 weeks for the rest of the kids in my grade to get used to my face. These were the kids I'd see in the cafeteria, yard time, PE, music, library, computer class. It took about a month for the rest of the kids in the entire school to get used to it. These were the kids in all the other grades. They were the big kids, some of them. Some of them had crazy haircuts, some of them had earrings in their noses, some of them had pimples, none of them looked like me. Page 63, Jack Will. I hung out with Jack in homeroom, English, history, computer, music, and science, which were all my classes we had together. The teachers assigned seats in every class, and I ended up sitting next to Jack every single class, so I figured either the teachers were told to put me and Jack together, or it was actually totally incredible coincidence. I walked to classes with Jack too. I know he noticed kids staring at me, but he pretended not to notice. One time, though, on our way to history, this huge 8th grader who was zooming down the stairs 2 steps at a time accidentally bumped into us at the bottom of the stairs and knocked me down. As the guy helped me stand up, he got a look at my face without even meaning to. He just said, "Whoa!" Then he patted me on the shoulder like he was dusting me off and took off for his friends. For some reason, me and Jack started cracking up. "The guy made the funniest face," said Jack as we sat down at our desk. "I know, right?" he said. "He was like, whoa! I swear, I think he wet his pants." We were laughing so hard the teacher, Mr. Roach, had to ask us to settle down. Later, after we finished reading about how ancient Sumerians built sundials, Jack whispered, "Hey guys, sundials. Do you ever want to beat those kids up?" I shrugged. "I guess. I don't know." "I'd want to. I think that you get a secret squirt gun or something and attach it to your eye somehow, and every time someone stares at you, you could squirt them in the face." "With some green slime or something?" I answered. No, a slug juice mixed with dog pee." "Yeah, I totally am green." "Guys," said Mr. Roach across the room, "people are still reading." Oops, sounds like Mr. Black. We nodded and looked down at our books, and Jack whispered, Are you going to look this way, August? I mean, can't you get plastic surgery or something?" I smiled and put at my face, "Hello, this is after plastic surgery." Jack clasped his hands over his forehead and started laughing hysterically. "Dude, you should sue your doctor," he answered between the giggles. This time the two of us were laughing so much we couldn't even stop after Mr. Roach came over and made us both switch chairs with the kids next to us. Page 65. Mr. Brown's precept for October was, "Your deeds are your monuments." He told us this was written on a tombstone of some Egyptian guy that died thousands of years ago. Since we were just about to start studying ancient Egypt and history, Mr. Brown thought it was a good choice for a precept. Our homework assignment was to write a paragraph about what we thought the precept meant or how we felt. I wrote this. This precept means that we should be remembered for the things we do. The things we do are the most important things of all. They are the most important than what we say or what we look like. The things we do outlast our mortality. The things we do are like monuments that people build honor heroes after they died. They are like the pyramids that the Egyptians built to honor the pharaohs, only instead of being made out of stone, they are made out of memories people have of you. That's why your deeds are like your monuments, built with memories instead of with stone. Ooh, that's pretty good. Not bad for a fifth grader. Page 66, apples. My birthday is October 10th. I like my birthday, 10/10. It would have been great if I would have been born exactly at 10:10 in the morning or at night, but I wasn't. I was born just after midnight, but I still think my birthday's cool. I usually have a little party at home, but this year I asked Mom if I could throw a big bowling party. Mom was surprised but happy. She also asked me who I wanted to ask from my class, and I said everyone in my homeroom plus Summer. "That's a lot of kids, Augie," said Mom. "I have to invite everyone because I don't want anybody to get their feelings hurt if I find out other people are invited and they aren't okay." "Okay," Mom agreed. "You even want to invite that what's-his-deal kid?" "Yeah, you can invite Julian," I answered. "Geez, Mom, you should forget about that already." "I know, you're right." A couple weeks later, I asked Mom who was coming to my party, and she said Jack Will, Summer, Reed Kingsley, both Maxes, and a couple other kids said that they're going to try to be there. Like who? Charlotte's mom said Charlotte had a dance recital early in the day, but she was going to try to come to your party if time allowed. And Tristan's mom said that he might come after a soccer game. "So that's it," I said. "That's like 5 people. That's more than 5 people, Augie. I think a lot of people just had plans already," Mom answered. We were in the kitchen. She was cutting one of the apples we had just gotten at the farmer's market into teensy-weensy bites so I could eat it. "What kind of plans?" I asked. "I don't know, Augie. We sent out the invites kind of late." "Like, what did they tell you, though? What are the reasons they give?" "Everyone had different reasons, Augie." She sounded a bit impatient. "Really, sweetie, it shouldn't matter that there were reasons were. People just had plans, that's all." What did Julian What did Julian give as a reason?" I asked. "You know," said Mom. "His mom was the only person who didn't RSVP at all." She looked at me. "I guess the apple doesn't fall far from the tree." I laughed because I thought she was making a joke, but then I realized she wasn't. "What does that mean?" I asked. "Never mind, go wash your hands so you can eat." My birthday party turned out to be much smaller than I thought it would be, but it was still great. Jack, Summer, Reed, Tristan, and both Maxes came from school, and Christopher came too, all the way from Bridgeport with his parents. Uncle Ben came, Uncle Kate, Uncle Poe drove from Boston, though Tata and Papa were in Florida for the winter. It was fun because all the grown-ups ended up bowling in the lane next to ours, so it totally felt like there were a lot of people there to celebrate my birthday. Page 68, Halloween. At lunch the next day, Summer asked me what I was going to be for Halloween. Of course, I was thinking about it since last Halloween, so I knew right away. Boba Fett. "You know you can wear a costume to school on Halloween, right?" "No way, really?" "As long as it's politically correct." "What, like no guns and stuff?" "Exactly." "What about blasters?" "I think blasters is like a gun, Augie." "Oh man," I said, shaking my head. "Boba Fett has a blaster." "At least we don't have to come like a character in a book anymore." In the lower school, that's what you had to do. Last year, I was the Wicked Witch for the West from The Wizard of Oz. "But that's a movie, not a book." "Hello," Summer answered. "It was a book first. One of my favorite books in the world, actually. My dad used to read it to me every night in the first grade. When Summer talks, especially when she's excited about something, her eyes squint like she's looking right at the sun. I hardly ever see Summer during the day, since it's the only class we have together is English. But ever since that first lunch at school, we sat at the summer table together every day, just like the two of us. So what are you going to be? I asked her. I don't know yet. I know what I really want to go as, but I might be too dorky. You know, Savannah's group isn't even wearing costumes this year. They think we're too old for Halloween. What? That's just dumb. I know, right? I thought you didn't care about what those girls think. She shrugged and then took her long drink from her milk. So, what dorky thing do you want to dress up as? I asked her, smiling. Promise not to laugh. She raised her eyebrows and her shoulders embarrassed. A unicorn. I smiled and looked down at my sandwich. Hey, you promised not to laugh, she laughed. Okay, I said. But you're right, that's too dorky. I know, she said, but I have it all planned out. I'd make the head out of paper mache and paint the horn gold and make the main gold too. It would be so awesome. Okay, I shrugged. Then you should do it. Who cares what other people think, right? Maybe what I'll do is just wear it for Halloween parade, she said, snapping her fingers. And just go like a goth girl at school. Yeah, that's it. That's what I'll do. Sounds like a plan, I nodded. Thanks, Augie, she giggled. You know, that's what I like best about you. I feel like I could tell you anything. Yeah? I said, nodded. I gave her a thumbs up sign. Cool beans. Page 70. School pictures. I don't think anyone will be shocked to learn that I don't want to have my school picture taken on October 22nd. No way, no thank you. I stopped letting anyone take pictures of me a while ago. I guess you could call it a phobia. No, actually, it's not a phobia. It's an aversion, which is a word I learned from Mr. Brown's class. I have an aversion to having my picture taken. There, I used it in a sentence. I thought Mom would try to get me to drop my aversion to having my picture taken for school, but she didn't. Unfortunately, while I managed to avoid having my portrait taken, I couldn't get out of being part of that class picture. Ugh. The photographer looked like he had just sucked on a lemon when he saw me. I'm sure he thought I ruined the picture. I was one of those ones in the front sitting down. I didn't smile. Not that anybody could tell that I had. Page 71. The cheese touch. I noticed not too long ago that even though people were getting used to me, no one actually wanted to touch me. I didn't realize this at first because it's not like the kids go around touching each other that much in middle school anyway. But last Thursday in dance class, dance, which is like my least favorite class, like most of us, Miss Anabi, the teacher, tried to make Zena Chin be my dance partner. Now, I never actually seen someone have a panic attack before, but I have heard about it. I'm pretty sure Zena had a panic attack at that second. She got really nervous, turned pale, and literally broke into a sweat within a minute. And then she came up with some lame excuse about really having to go to the bathroom. Anyway, Miss Anabi let her off the hook because she ended up not making anyone dance together. Then, yesterday in my science elective, we were doing this cool mystery powder investigation where we had to classify a substance as an acid or a base. Everyone had to heat their mystery powders on a heating plate and make observations. So we were all huddled around with the powders in our notebooks. Now there were 8 kids in this elective, and 7 of them were squished together on one side of the plate, while then me, had loads of room on the other side. So of course I noticed this, but I was hoping Miss Rubin wouldn't notice this, because I didn't want her to say something. But of course she did notice this, and of course she did say something. Guys, there's plenty room on that other side. Tristan, go over there, she said. So Tristan, scooted over to my side. Tristan and have always been okay nice to me. I want to go on record saying that. Not super nice, like they go out of their way to hang out with me, but okay nice, like they say hello to me and talk to me like normal. And they didn't even make a face when Mr. Rubin told them to cut him on my side, which a lot of kids do, and they think I'm not looking. Anyway, everything was going fine until Tristan's mystery powder began melting. He moved his foil off the plate just as my powder began to melt too, which is why I went to move mine off the plate, and then my hand accidentally bumped into his hand for a fraction of a second. Tristan jerked his hand away so fast he dropped his foil on the floor and also knocking everyone else's foil off the heating plate. Tristan! Yelled Miss Rubin, but Tristan didn't care about the spilled powder on the floor or that he ruined the experiment. He was most concerned about getting to the lab sink to wash his hands as fast as possible. That's when I know for sure that there was this thing about touching me at preacher prep. I think it's like the cheese touch in A Diary of a Wimpy Kid. The kids in that story were afraid to catch cooties if they touched the old moldy cheese on a basketball court. At preacher prep, I'm the old moldy cheese. Page 73. Costumes. For me, Halloween is the best holiday in the world. It even beats Christmas. I get dressed up in a costume, I get to wear a mask, I get to go around like every other kid with a mask and nobody thinks I'm weird. Nobody takes a second look, nobody notices me. Nobody knows me. I wish every day could be Halloween. We could all wear masks all the time. Then we could walk around and get to know each other before we got to see what we look like under the mask. When I was little, I used to wear an astronaut helmet everywhere I went. To the playground, to the supermarket, to pick up Vi from school. Even in the middle of summer, though it was not hot, my face would sweat. When it was hot, my face would sweat. I think I wore it a couple years, but I had to stop wearing it when I had my eye surgery. I was about 7, I think. And then we couldn't find the helmet after that. Mom looked everywhere for it. She figured that it had probably ended up in Grand's attic, and she kept meaning to look for it, but by then I got used to not wearing it. I have pictures of me all my Halloween costumes. My first Halloween, I was a pumpkin. Second, I was a tiger. My third, I was Peter Pan. My dad dressed up as Captain Hook. My fourth, I was Captain Hook. My dad dressed up as Peter Pan. My fifth, I was an astronaut. My sixth, I was Obi-Wan Kenobi. My seventh, I was a clone trooper. My eighth, I was Darth Vader. My ninth, I was Bleeding Scream. That was the one with the fake blood oozing out over to the skull mask. This year, I was going to be Boba Fett. Not Boba Fett, the kid in Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, but Boba Fett, the man from Star Wars Episode 5, Empire Strikes Back. Mom searched everywhere for the costume, but she couldn't find one in my size, so she bought me a Jango Fett costume since Jango was Boba's dad. Wore the same armor, and then painted the armor green. She did some other stuff to make it look worn, too. Anyway, it looked totally cool, totally real. Mom's good at costumes. In homeroom, we all talked about what we were going to be for Halloween. Charlotte was going as Hermione from Harry Potter. Jack was going as Wolfman. I heard Julian was going as Jango Fett, which was a really weird coincidence. I don't think he liked hearing that I was going as Boba Fett. On the morning of Halloween, Vi and this big cry had a crying meltdown or something. Vi has always been so calm and so cool, but this year she had a couple of these kind of fits. Dad was late for work and was like, Vi, let's go, let's go. Usually Dad is super patient about things, but not when it comes to being late for work. His yelling just stressed out Vi even more. She started crying louder, and Mom and Dad to take me to school, and that was she'd deal with Vi. Then Mom kissed me goodbye quickly before I even put on my costume, disappeared in Vi's room. Augie, let's go, said Dad. I have a meeting, can't be late for. I haven't put on my costume yet. So put it on already, 5 minutes, I'll meet you outside. I rushed to my room and started putting on my Boba Fett costume, but all of a sudden, I didn't feel like wearing it. I'm not sure why. Maybe because I had all these belts that I needed to be tightened, and I needed someone's help to put it on, or maybe it was because it still smelled like paint. All I knew was it was a lot of work to put on a costume, and Dad wasn't waiting. Dad was waiting, and would get super impatient if I made him late. So, at last minute, I threw on the Bleeding Scream costume from last year. It was such an easy costume, just a long black robe with a big white mask. I yelled goodbye from the door on my way out, but Mom didn't even hear me. I thought you were going as Jango Fett, said Dad when I got outside. Boba Fett! Whatever, Dad. This is a better costume anyway. Yeah, it's cool, I answered. Page 76. Bleeding Scream. Walking through the halls of the morning on my way to the lockers was, I have to say, absolutely awesome. Everything was different now. I was different. When I usually walked with my head down, trying to avoid being seen, today I walked my head up, looking around. I wanted to be seen. One kid was wearing the exact costume as mine, long white skull face, oozing fake red blood, high-fived me when we passed each other on the stairs. I have no idea who he was, had no idea who I was, and I wondered for a second if he would ever have done that if he'd known what was underneath the mask. I was starting to think that I was going down as one of the most awesome days in history of my life, but then I got to homeroom. The first costume I saw as I walked inside the door was Darth Sidious. It had one of the rubber masks that was so realistic with a big black hood over the head and a long black robe. I knew right away it was Julian, of course. He must have changed his costume at the last minute because he thought I was coming as Django Fat. He was talking to his two mummies who had been Miles and Henry, and they were all kind of looking at the door like they were waiting for someone to come through it. I knew it wasn't Bleeding Scream they were looking for. It was Bubba Fett. I was gonna go sit down at my usual desk, but for some reason, I don't know why, I found myself walking over to the desk near them, and I could hear them talking. One of the mummies was saying, "It really does look like him." "Like this part especially," answered Julian's voice. He put his fingers in his cheeks and eyes as Darth Sidious mask. "Actually," said the mummy, "what he really looks like is one of those shrunken heads. Have you ever seen those? He looks exactly like that." "I think he looks like an orc." "Oh, yeah." "If I look like that," said Julian's voice, kind of laughing, "I swear to God, I put a hood over my face every day." "I've thought about this a lot," said the second mummy, sounding serious, "and I really think if I looked like that, seriously, I'd kill myself." "You would not," answered Darth Sidious. "Yeah, for real," insisted the same mummy. "I can't imagine looking in the mirror every day and seeing myself like that. It would be too awful and getting stared at all the time." "Then why don't you go out? Then why do you hang out with him so much?" asked Darth Sidious. "I don't know," answered the mummy. "Tushin asked me to hang out with him at the beginning of the year, and he must have told all the teachers to put us next to each other in all of our classes or something." The mummy shrugged. I knew that shrug. Of course, I knew the voice. I knew I wanted to run out the class right then and there, but I stood there and I was and listened to Jack Will finish what he was saying. "I mean, the thing is, he always follows me around. What am I supposed to do?" "Just ditch him," said Julian. I don't know what Jack answered because I walked out the class without anyone knowing I'd ever been there. My face felt like it was on fire while I walked down the stairs. I was sweating under my costume and I started crying. I couldn't keep it from happening. The tears were so thick in my eyes I could barely see, but I couldn't wipe them through the mask as I walked. I was looking for a tiny little spot to disappear into, and I wanted a hole I could fall inside, a black hole that would eat me up. Page 79. Rat Boy, Freak, Monster, Freddy Krueger, E.T., Gross Out, Lizard Face, Mutant. I know all the names they call me. I've been in enough playgrounds to know kids can be mean. I know. I ended up in the second floor bathroom. No one was there because first period had started and everyone was in class. I locked the door to my stall and took off my mask and just cried for I don't know how long. Then I went to the nurse's office, told her I had a stomachache, which was true because I felt like I'd been kicked in the gut. Nurse Molly called Mom and had me lie down on the sofa next to her desk. 15 minutes later, Mom was at the door. "Sweetness," she said, coming over to hug me. "Hi," I mumbled. I didn't want her to ask anything until afterward. "You have a stomachache?" she asked, automatically putting her hand on my forehead to check my temperature. "He said he feels like throwing up," said Nurse Molly, looking at me with nice eyes. "I have a headache," I whispered. "I wonder if it's something you ate," said Mom, looking worried. "That's a stomach bug growing around here," said Nurse Molly. "Oh, geez," said Mom, her eyebrows going up as she shook her head. She helped me to my feet. "Should I call a taxi, or are you okay walking home?" "I can walk." "What a brave kid," said Nurse Molly, patting me on the back as she walked toward the door. If he starts throwing up or runs a temperature, you should call the doctor." "Absolutely," said Mom, shaking Nurse Molly's hand. "Thank you so much for taking care of him." "My pleasure," answered Nurse Molly, putting her hand under my chin and tilting my face up. "Take care of yourself, okay?" I nodded and mumbled, "Thank you," and Mom and I hug-walked the whole way home. I didn't tell her anything about what had happened, and later, when she asked me if I felt well enough to go trick-or-treating after school, I said no. This worried her since she knew how much I actually loved trick-or-treating. I heard her say to Dad on the phone, "He doesn't even have the energy to go trick-or-treating." "No? No fever at all? Well, I will if he doesn't feel better by tomorrow." I know, the poor thing. Imagine his missing Halloween. I got out of school for the next day or two, which was Friday, so I had the whole weekend to think about everything. I was pretty sure I was never going back to school again. And that's the end of the reading. And now we're on to the next part, which will be part 2. Bye. We'll catch you later.